Hi, everybody. This is Kathy L. Murphy, the Pulpwood Queen, reporting from my little cabin in the woods, Murphy's Law. And I'm so excited this Valentine month. We've got a spectacular author, and his book is right beside me. We have Vince Spinnato. Let's see if we can get it where it's not showing it. And Mickey Goodman, who wrote the book with him. And this book is My Pursuit of Beauty. And the subtitle is A Cosmetic Chemist Reveals the Glitz, the Glam, and the Batshit Crazy. And I've read this book several times, but I did notice as I was kind of going through this before you guys got here tonight, this wonderful quote, which I'm all about skincare. Obviously, I've slather myself with it, but beauty comes from within, jars, bottles, and tubes. I think that probably could be for any of us, but I've been laughing because when I read your book the first time and even the second time, I don't know how I missed the titles of some of your chapters. But before we get started, I've got to read a few of them because for those of you, to buy or bust, functional dysfunction, Sister Mary Rottencrotch, pounds per square inch, my closet moment, that must be some fucking cream, decapitated, Lauren's linguine, corn chowder face cream, don't they ever clean the floors? Vinny to the rescue, my favorite one on here maybe, where did I just see it? Kmart or bust. I mean, your titles are hilarious. So we're going to start and we'll come back to this, but tell us the story. How did this memoir come about and how did you two meet?
It came up about with very long time of therapy. Unfortunately, I was I was in therapy for probably
Not with me.
not Mickey, not with Mickey. God, I mean, she had to go through enough. But since 11 years old, and I pretty much was about 33 years old-ish when I finally had my just regular good old 1 hour session I've always had twice a week for 30 years. And I got to the point I just was literally disgusted at hearing myself talk. And right in the middle of the hour, like 20 minutes in, I'm like, I'm done. I'm out. I can't hear myself talk anymore. I'm done. And that night I started talking into a recorder to start writing my book. I didn't have a writer at the point. I have every learned disability you can imagine: ADD, ESPN, PMS. I mean, every single one you can think of. So I wasn't had no idea how I was going to be able to do this. So I just started first by talking, and then many years later, I found Mickey, and God bless her, she put all my words to paper and made this beautiful, elegant book. And she gets full credit for all the titles, all that we talked about. She had all the creative title ideas, so she gets full credit for that as well.
Aha! Another side of Mickey I did not know.
Yes.
But
I have to admit, I had a little little help from my son, who has also written a number of books. And he's kind of a little on the snarky side, so he helped me with some of the titles.
I like snark. I mean, snark is, I'm really into that. I think your book is one of the best beauty books I've ever read. And I've picked a lot through the years because, we've had everybody from Rona Berg, we've had Bobby Brown, we've had all kinds of different peoples through the years that have done beauty books. But this is the first one that I could really relate to because
Well,
the
it's really a
dysfunction.
cautionary tale, isn't it? It's really a cautionary beauty tale, is what it is.
Yes. And so many times when we talk about the beauty industry and, we watch these shows like you did, The Young and Restless and Dynasty and all this stuff, we get caught up in the glamour. But when you really work behind the scenes in the beauty industry, like for me, I used to work when I was in California for Elizabeth Arden and May Company. I was the counter manager for them, did all the training and everything. And everybody thought it was so glamorous. And I remember my first day behind the counter, I came from Kansas and I had my hair bleached blonde and I think I had rainbow eyeshadow. And this woman and man came up to the counter and they said, "Oh, honey, take a picture of the young lady. We want to get a California girl." And I just didn't have the heart to tell them that I was from Eureka, Kansas, But your stories are like that. They're like very authentic, very real, and they make you laugh, but they also make you cry because every emotion that I've ever felt being in this line of work has been covered in your book. Embarrassing moments, moments where you have just this, what I think is the most outstanding point about your book is you're fearless, Vince. I mean, to drive in your car from New Jersey to California with just 20, what were you, 20 years old? Right. And to just go to Beverly Hills and just wing it. I am so impressed by your story. So for those who have not read your book, tell a little bit how this all began, how you got your interest in this world of beauty.
Well, you kind of touched upon it. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I always got to tell the truth. Right now, it's in the book. I did start as early as 7, 8, 9 years old, watching The Young and Restless with my grandmother after school and my sister. And it's kind of embarrassing to say, but that's the truth. It's just they had a cosmetic company on the show. It's what they're about. They're still one of the only surviving soap operas on today. I was born in 74. I think it came out like in 75. So I was watching it since I was a little kid. And that's literally where I got the idea from. And about 6, 7 years of age, my sister had like one of those old easy bake ovens, and I was pretending to make like formulations in them and put them in the oven and take them out. So I really got the idea from them, and I didn't deviate from it. It was just stayed with me all the way through. And then to make it worse, in the very early 80s, Dynasty came out, and so I was very caught up in the TV, I guess, in these two shows. So Young and Restless was really for the beauty and the cosmetics and perfumery and all of that. And Dynasty was kind of pushed me for the stuff, I wanted to have the house and the money and sit on top of your porch and just throw a martini in someone's face and say, why would you do that? And just like walk away. Just sit down. So it kind of all came together.
Well, I think, I graduated from high school the year you were born, so I could be your mama. But I'm going to tell you, Dynasty, Dallas, all those shows were just iconic, and they went around the world. One of my friends that's a Pulpwood Queen author wrote the episode of Who Shot JR, and I can remember, walking in Italy, and we were going through a flea market, and we had on our cowboy hats, and all these Italian guys started whistling the theme song from Dallas. And I'm just thinking, it really has gone around the world, this idea of beauty. And now to me, it's always been about the skincare. And that's what I find. You were on this wonderful live show yesterday on Amazon, and I have to tell you, I enjoyed it so much. I shared the link. But what I really liked is Candence, who was the interviewer. She obviously had read your book and knew your story. She really touched on some really great points. So if you guys get a chance, we'll send you the link. You've got to watch that show. But I also was kind of amazed that she was a former Power Ranger.
Right, I didn't know that. Right.
I was just going, oh my gosh, my kids grew up on Power Rangers, so I can't wait to tell them the story. But tell some of these stories that you shared on the show. I was in hysterics about, of course, the slipper slide when you were at the conference, that you decided that you were going to go down the water slide at the pool at the hotel. I mean, everybody wants to do that. I mean, come on.
But you have to do it and actually read and read your surroundings. So to answer your question, I did go on the water slide during a conference that we had a couple hour break, and we all went to the pool, and so all my colleagues were there, probably probably over 100 of them. And I went down the slide, and we're not realizing that actually was a children's slide that I went into. There were 2 side by side. So I really threw my body through it, and halfway down, not only did I get stuck, my bathing suit ripped off. So now I'm like naked inside the children's slide, which is quite interesting. And I couldn't get out. And then Mr. Brilliant Lifeguard thought it'd be the best way to do is to actually pour some hot butter down the slide that was from the popcorn machine that was down on the patio there. So now I'm covered naked in the children's slide, covered in butter. So it just keeps going on and on. So eventually I did have to get cut out by the fire department. They came like 40 minutes later. It was on the local news. And I remember like as yesterday, I remember the guy finally pulling me out, and he's like, why are you naked? And it's like, dude, it's a really long story. I'm covered in butter. Just get me out of here first, and I'll explain the whole story to you.
I mean, did they have a towel at least for you or something when they pulled you out?
No, no one knew I was naked. It just
Oh my gosh, I would have just died. I would have just died of embarrassment.
it was hysterical, of course, at the time, but I was constricted. I couldn't move. I was like, thought I was paralyzed in this thing. And then the best part, which I don't think we ever even talked about 6 months later, I got a bill from those people. It was the Sheraton Safari Hotel in Orlando, Florida, and they sent me a bill saying I ruined their slide. And I'm like, so I actually had to get, an attorney just for a couple of weeks to say there was no sign that this was for kids and blah, blah, and pretty much telling the world that I was an idiot. And I said there was nothing there. So they never had a sign, thank God. So I wasn't as dumb as I thought. But it came full circle. So I actually had to deal with it legally too afterwards for a while.
Now, Mickey, you're helping him write these stories. How do you even keep your hand from shaking as you're typing or writing these down? I mean, what was probably the story that you were writing that you just couldn't believe,
Oh, there were so many.
And how many of you left out? That's what I'm doing. I mean, we just heard a few. I want to hear.
We have a lot of vignettes. We have a lot of vignettes we haven't used.
Yeah.
Well, I want to hear all of them because, I thought if I ever had a party, you would definitely be the first person I want to be there, because all you have to do is just tell what happened in your life, and you'd have everybody in stitches, because it's pretty amazing. But now, Mickey and you guys, you two worked together for how long did this take for you to get the story down?
Forever.
Forever. I started about 8 years ago, and then I met Mickey about 5 years ago. So I was putting it down just by voice, and then I knew from day one I wasn't going to be able to physically write it. I mean, I have so many disabilities. There's no way learning disabilities, I should say. I have other disabilities too, I guess, but that's the main ones that I have. So I found Mickey through my publisher in Atlanta, Book Logics, and they hooked me up with her, and it was a perfect match. And we
definitely.
It's a match made in heaven.
I did have a kind of a assembly of stuff we wanted to do, and Mickey read it. She's like, "This is like garbage. We can't even this is not even readable." So which is pretty true. Which is not. It is very accurate. So she really took all the stories and sifted through them, put pen to paper, and made it into the beautiful story it is now. It wouldn't have been even close to that.
And it is a beautiful story, because so many people think that when you're iconic in Beverly Hills, people know who you are and all these things and all the skincare and the beauty products and things that you've done. But what I really liked about your story is you told how it really happens. You didn't say, "Oh, I went out there and I was discovered." And I mean, we got to hear every little bit of what it's really like to go out. And the fact that you were persistent and stuck with it, where do you think you get that, that incentive to keep going? That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, we got asked that before. We did a piece a couple months ago about grit and where that actually comes from. And I really honestly think, and Mickey will tell you, she helped me actually write the piece for that as well. I think it has to literally be in you. Either you have it, you're doing it. And you certainly can learn how to do things, whether it's like, be more aggressive or not as aggressive, or go out and be a go-getter. But I think if you're a true entrepreneur, like for example, there's many times I said, okay, I'm done. I'm just going to get a regular job. I'm going to do it. And I did do it for like 6 or 7 hours, and I was out. I'm like, I'm done. I can't.
6 or 7 hours.
So I think you're either wired that way or you're not. So I don't know if it's necessarily learned. But even as a kid, I'm just giving an example. I had wonderful parents growing up. They were very loving and never got hit or barely ever punished. But the reason why was because my parents would say at like 16, 17 years old, "Vince, okay, curfew 11. Well, I'll be back around 12. They're like, "No, it's 11. Well, I'll see you at 12. And just so like, you're punished. I'm like, no, I'm not. But you have to go to your room. No, I'm not going to go. So I just couldn't. I was just the way I was wired, and that's the way I really did it. So a lot of parents out there say this guy and this kid's a jerk, but I just was not able to be told what to do. So I got to do it myself for some reason. So I don't know where it comes from. I think it's really just you're kind of wired that way or you're not, honestly.
Are you more like your father or your mother?
No, more like my mother for sure. My father was a big teddy bear, and my mother was in the very late 70s. That's where I got the idea of my company, Turnkey Beauty, which I have now, which turnkeys, programs from concept to launch for doctors, celebrities, retailers, et cetera. We take them through the whole process. My mother in the very late 70s had her own wedding company. And,
Oh,
and as you know, as you said, you were getting out of high school in '74. That was something women didn't do. I mean, her idea was she traded in her first car that she had for one limousine, and she had one limousine. And by the time I was 10, she had a whole fleet of limousines. But then she brought in, instead of having
oh,
all these
okay.
different vendors, she actually brought in a wedding vendor. Wedding dress vendor. She brought in a invitation vendor. She brought in the musicians. So she had also all the brides and grooms would come to our house, and it'd be a turnkey stop right inside our living room. She would set them all up, and we had a fleet of limousines outside our house, 7 days a week, of like 4 or 5 or 6 cars that are, 30, 40, 50 feet long. Our neighbors hated us, but that was what she did. And she did it all. My dad had nothing to do with it. He was a director of transportation for the state of New Jersey. So he was in public service, and she did it all herself.
That's really amazing.
Yeah.
And did you know what your grandparents were they like that? Were they entrepreneurs?
Not really. My grandmother, both grandmothers were kind of were stay-at-home parents, and my dad's father was a farmer, and my mother's father was a brilliant musician. So he was a musician, but he did go out and do his own career. I mean, he used to conduct the scores for the Lauren Hardy silent movies when he
Oh
first.
my gosh.
He came from. We're 100% Italian, and he came from Italy in the very late 19 teens, and he that's how he started within the Lauren Hardy pits, doing the scores. So if you watch Lauren Hardy silent movies, that's all my grandfather's scores that he wrote those scores and conducted them. So he kind of was a go-getter in music, but it still was not very entrepreneurial. So that just came from maybe Joan Collins, Alexis Carrington, Colby Dexter Rowan. That's the only thought I know where it came from. I have to blame it on Joan Collins.
Have you gotten to meet any of those characters? I know you got to meet one of the actors on The Young and Restless, but have you ever met Linda Evans or
I
Joan
do, yeah.
Collins?
Well, actually, I have my documentary coming out in late 2021 called Skin Deep, which is formulating a legacy, and a big part of that is talking about how I grew up with Dynasty. We have Emma Samms in the documentary. We have Michael Nader, we have who played Dexter. We have George Gordon. So we actually have 4 or 5 cast members from the show in the documentary talking about how it kind of shaped the 80s and what it did for people, what it didn't do for them. But I met Joan Collins, I met Linda Evans, but they're not in my documentary, but I met them just out in the world, out here in LA, a couple
Those
times.
shoulder pads.
Yeah, yeah. I missed all that part, thank God.
You didn't wear those, did you? Did you have them in your suits?
No.
Well, I know a lot of guys that did, but anyway, I remember Linda Evans because, of course, she was on the Big Valley when I was growing up, and she was Audra Barkley, and she was our idea of beauty back when I was in high school, and she's beautiful today. They're both of them. I mean, they just, they look great, but it was of that generation where women did everything very large. I don't know how to describe it. It was very glitz and glam, just like your book.
Right, and Dynasty also had the very, very first gay, cast member on the show, and again, I didn't know what gay was at the time, but I knew I had those feelings going on. So that's the other reason why I think I was fixated to the show. I was trying to figure out with myself I'm kind of feeling like this guy is feeling, and there was no Ellen, there was no Will and Grace, there was nothing, there was nothing, so it was just like that one character that came out in 1981, and I just kind of fixated on him too, trying to figure out what this is all about.
Yeah. When you posted on there that you used to watch The Young and Restless with your grandmother, it was interesting to me because people were coming on there. I used to watch the soaps with my grandma. I used to watch General Hospital and One Life to Live with my grandmother Murphy. And it was like our quiet time after lunch. She'd lay a quilt down and we'd lay in front of the TV. And I remember years later, I watched it and I hadn't missed a thing.
I was just gonna say that. I actually said that. I actually went to college and I came back and they were on the same storyline. I mean, I didn't miss anything. It was like, what happened?
I just thought that was so funny. When The Young and Restless came out, it was so controversial. I had gone to K-State, Kansas State University. Everybody used to go to the student union at 11 o'clock to
Right.
watch The Young and the Restless. I mean, it'd just
Yeah.
be packed with students. People would skip classes to go.
Everybody had their lineup. Either you were an ABC person or NBC, and we, in my family, we were CBS, so we were Price is Right, Young and Restless, Bold and Beautiful, As the World Turns, and Guiding Light. That was that was the run. And Guiding Light, used to be on the radio. That just went off the air 6-7 years ago. That was on the radio. That was on the air for 75 years. Guiding Light.
Yeah, the soap opera that I always liked, I don't know if you remember this, was the parody one, Soap. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, it was Tracy Ullman and Sally Field was in that.
That was such a great show. But you have got probably so many lives that you could tell from this book. This is just the highlights of Vince Spinnato's life and beauty. But tell us some things about, really, I mean, one of the best questions on that interview yesterday was, what is a cosmetic chemist? Because, I took chemistry in high school. If I'd known more about it, I may have studied harder. But I know I use it a lot in doing hair, because you have to know all the things you have to know,
Sure.
mixing chemicals for, hair color. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so it is a specialty in chemistry that you deviate from, whether you go into organic chemistry or biochemistry. Cosmetic chemistry per se is not actually a real major. Not real. It's not really a major in the United States. You can kind of find like at a college or anything. So I had to work with Chanel over in Paris a couple of years. I used to go back and forth, and I used to learn from them, because it wasn't here in the States. And really, is exactly what it sounds like. If you were a customer and said, I want to put a hair care or skincare line together, we start from scratch. So everything is really from your concept out of your head, and we turn them into products. So we start all the way down from the chemicals to the base formulations. If I can move my body a little bit, I'll actually show you guys something. So I'll give you an idea. It'd be better to explain it if you don't mind me walking with my computer here. So I'll take you here through my lab, and I'll show you how it actually starts. So this is the room. This is where it all starts. It is in my chemical room here. So these are all.
How cool is this?
So there's thousands of chemicals in here, and when you say you want to put a moisturizer together or a hair care, so there could be almost 75 ingredients in here just going into one product. So that's kind of where we start, and then you come out here. Your customer, you come out here to the pretty part, and you get the baccarat chandelier and all the other stuff. And then out here is the lab area. So this is where we mix and get our. So here we have a client. Right now we're going through a bunch of revisions for them. So you'll see this is a vitamin C anti-aging serum, and this is one that's on the market right now. So we had to get it perfect because it's been on the market for about 10 years. So we're helping them kind of enhancing it. So the color has to be perfect, the viscosity, the odor, all that stuff. And then we have like our ovens and hot plates over here. And then, of course, most importantly, the bar. So that way I keep my dynasty thing going, so I can have a sip once in a while. And I have my little conference room in here. So
oh my God, I love this! And look at the views.
Yeah, we are here on the ocean here.
Oh my goodness! Now, is this is separate from your house, or is this at your house?
No. This is separate from my house. Yeah, I live about 2 hours, like about 20 minutes from here.
Oh wow! So do you go there every day?
Yeah, every day. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I mean, what a great work environment. Yeah.
Sometimes it's easier when you see it. So it really does start from actually raw chemicals, and then we go from there.
Wow. I am so impressed. And you've got how many projects going all at the same time? I mean, if you were to guesstimate how many things you've got going on right now.
Well, we stay pretty boutique. There's only about 10 of us in total. So we only take on about 4 to 6 clients every 18 months, because it takes that long to go through the FDA process. But right now, with those 4 to 6 clients, we're working on probably about 40 different products that are all mixed in between those grouping of people. So we also do OTC drugs, which mean SPFs, hair regrowth, hand sanitizers, a drug, acne, any kind of personal products like personal lubricant or KY jelly, that kind of stuff. So we do OTC drugs in addition to hair care, skincare, bath and body, fine fragrances, baby products, pet products. I mean, pretty much all of it.
It's fascinating. You know, I've always, when I work for Elizabeth Arden, you know, Eli Lilly Pharmaceuticals does all of their skincare. And then we also work with Bethco, which
Yeah.
was their fragrance. And I love good perfume. That is one of my favorite things. And I heard that you like Tom Ford. You know, you
I do.
talked
Yeah.
about.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what is your favorite combination of like top note, and what are those things that you like the best to wear?
I like for myself, I do a lot of lavender and geranium together. I think it's a really nice, it's a nice, if you know of, there's a company out there called Yonka, Yonka, which is a great another skincare company. And they're, the reason why I'm mentioning them, because they have this whole kind of lavender and geranium top note they use for all their skincare products. And I kind of fell in love with that years ago. So I still like to wear, use that, mostly in skincare, but in topical products, excuse me, and fragrances, I like orchids a lot. So I use like Tom Ford's black orchid, velvet orchids. I like to use a lot. I have different variations of orchids I work with a lot in the lab when I'm doing a fragrance with somebody. And just to kind of tell you real fast, when you have a fine fragrance, you have the, of course, I'm sure you guys have all heard of the top notes, the middle notes, and the bottom notes, right? But the top note is what when you spray the bottle, that's what you get right away. The middle notes, which are the heart notes, that takes about 20 minutes later, is what you smell kind of on a dry down. And the bottom notes is what'll stay like on your clothing, on your pillowcases, and stay there for a couple of days. So that's kind of how the fragrance breaks down. So it really kind of always defeats the purpose to get sprayed in a department store unless you walk around with it for about an hour. And they, a lot of people make an impulse buy, but everyone's body chemistry does change the scent. And me and you can put on the same fragrance and smell exactly different on it.
Oh, believe me, I know.
Yeah.
I've smelled scents on people and go, man, I've got to try that. It smells like bug spray on me. So
Right.
Vince,
Yeah.
talk about being a certified nose.
Yeah.
Yes, I want to hear about that.
So that's kind of the next level of it. So when you work on a fragrance, it's very, very similar to being a sommelier for wine. So we're trained to actually use, our nose to work with, essential oils and fragrances, et cetera. So it's how we kind of actually put the fragrance work together. So it's really just kind of more of an in-deep study of fragrance work, like it would be like a sommelier for wine or a cheesemonger for cheese. It's very similar to all that, but it's so I'm not as high level as a perfumer, which is kind of like the doctorate degree of fragrances, if you will. But I am working towards that. But I am, with the certified nose, it means that my nose is insured for $1 million. That's why it says certified, and I have like the ability to kind of put all this stuff together. I'm at the point where you can probably put, a couple dozen fragrances that have been on the market for 20 years or 30 years in front of me, and I'll be able to identify what they are with my blindfold with no problem. So it's kind of like really like that. But then I'm still working kind of to get the higher level, which is the full perfumer.
How fascinating. There's so many knockoffs of different fragrances, but I can always tell the difference. Remember when Giorgio was the big fragrance? I mean, this was kind of,
yeah.
I loved it. And then there was like all these knockoffs, and they go, oh, and I go, no, that's not Giorgio. That's not the Beverly Hills one that I know. But I find all of that fascinating. I know Stephanie got had her honeymoon in Beverly Hills and has spent a lot of time there because of her brother-in-law works there. But it's kind of like the Mecca for anybody that's in the makeup, perfumery business. So the first company that you worked for out there was, tell me, you read about this lady in a magazine.
Here's the funny part of the story, which I don't think I even told. You kind of just triggered the thing, Cassie tell you, is that I grew up in South Jersey on the Jersey Shore, right on the ocean, like in Ocean City, which is right below Atlantic City, and I spent my whole life there, and also a town called Vineland, which is where I grew up. And long story short, I went through this whole thing. I was telling you, if I want to be in beauty my whole life, got in a car, drive to California, and as I got deeper and deeper into beauty work, I started finding out that the literally the biggest like fragrance capital and beauty capital of the world was like Newark, was North Jersey.
Are you serious?
Everybody was there. Everyone is there still to this day. Lauder is there. J&J, P&G. I mean, Arden, Redken, Revlon, everyone you can imagine, L'Oreal, they're all in North Jersey. And I went all the way across the country to go. So anyway, so all the stuff is kind of developed from scratch out here in California, like we're as far as creative ideas, but a lot of times it ends up back in North Jersey to be manufactured. So I kind of went, I could have just stayed where I was at, but I don't think we would have had the same kind of creative ideas, staying in the East Coast. I mean, New York, yes, but not really in New Jersey or necessarily that area. We need to kind of be around more, just more happening, stuff, I guess, if you will.
Well, now with the internet, the world is kind of your oyster. I mean, you can be anywhere, and everybody
Right.
used to be, when you were a hairdresser like I was back in Kansas, the only way you could get any kind of training was go to the big hair show in Kansas City or uh, Omaha, Nebraska, or something, the big hair shows. And then later on, I had a Redken salon, went to New York, or for Chi, down in Houston, or,
Right.
But you can do all kinds of classes online anymore. Oh, here comes Claire. Let's get her on board. But it's still fascinating, because I don't think a lot of people understand that there's a lot of beauty lines out there in the world that are just fashion based.
Right.
They don't have anything to do with skincare.
Mm-hmm.
And what you're doing is basically built on good skincare and good chemistry.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I personally don't believe in color cosmetics. I mean, we had to have them and use them, but that's a whole nother science. And I've always kind of felt from day one, I always want to make the skin look and feel beautiful first, and then go ahead and use makeup to enhance it rather than trying to cover it up. So I'm really always against putting, like, and every woman in my life always tells me, of course I'm nuts, because I mean, but you don't really want to cover up zits necessarily, or cover up acne, because it actually makes it worse. So you really want to treat the skin first if you can. And again, it's not necessarily realistic for everybody. They got to go to work, they got to go out, they got to do things. But if you have the time and the energy and the patience, you really want to treat the skin first, clear it up, and then go ahead and use makeup to enhance and be beautiful and do all that. I mean, so I'm a big advocate, to have color cosmetics. I just don't believe in that science as far as, and color chemists will actually tell you the opposite. They don't like skincare and vice versa. So it's like color science is a whole nother. Color chemistry, I should say, is a whole nother science, which is very different than what I do.
You can take the best paint in the world, but if you put it on a crappy canvas,
right,
it's not going to be a good painting. You know what I'm saying?
It's going to be a cracked canvas.
And it's also what you take into your body that makes your skin look good too. This is what it's hard to convince teenagers. Keep away from the Cokes and the French fries and the greasy food, drink water, lots of fresh fruits and vegetables. I got my kids started on good skincare when they were little, but I love that part about your book. And I am fascinated with your new skincare line. Can you tell us about this new Caviar and Diamonds?
Sure. Yeah, that's another one been in the works about 8 years. It took me to kind of get this all come to fruition. And being a chemist, the issue was I kept changing it, trying to make it better. Because as a chemist, we get all the hottest and newest and greatest technology that are offered to us, because the raw material suppliers want us to put it into our products for our customers. So we are always about 2 years in advance getting new ideas, new technologies, et cetera. So every time I kept revamping. So finally I had to settle on something, and I had a really great distributor connection in Dubai, in the United Arab Emirates, and we kind of developed this line specifically for that market, which is called Caviar and Diamond. And the reason why is that Dubai is one of the diamond capitals of the world, and which we kind of made that story part of the marketing story. But from a beneficial standpoint, our bodies are about 75% oceanic elements ish, and the other 25% are earth metals. So the caviar part is very, very rich in amino acids. It puts oceanic elements back into your skin. It helps tighten and firm. It adds tremendous amount of body and balance to your skin, and helps with cell turnover. Caviar keeps the fish alive till it's born, right? So it's a fish egg. So the kind of the potency that's with it. And then on the diamond side, we use actual real diamond dust, which is called diamond sirt, SIRT. I gotta say that because of my list. I gotta make sure I spell it. So diamond sirt, which is really rich in magnesium PCA, copper PCA, zinc PCA, and that's for all the earth metals. So this is a line that we call, it's got instant gratification. So when you try it, you feel and see the results on your skin within 10 to 15 seconds. It's very, very fast. I mean, so you really can see it right there in front of you. So it has a large price point. You know, it's a high price point, but it's really because it has real diamond and caviar, and it's a very expensive product to make.
Well, the technology you were describing in the interview yesterday was, you know, everything's about cell renewal, anti-aging. A lot of people don't realize the chemistry that goes into a beauty product. I was a geology major in college too, so I know all about the properties of the minerals and things that you're using.
Claire's going to get hit by a rogue wave. Look at her. She got a rogue wave coming.
Yes, she does. She's got the whole ocean behind her. We're all over the place. We're in East Texas. We're in Florida. And we're out on, Atlanta and out on the West Coast. So the Pulpwood Queens are truly nationwide nowadays. So we're happy to have you join us, Claire. We've been learning all about more inside tips on Vince's book. And what is fascinating to me is I really hope that you two will work on another book, because I would definitely read it. And I know there's more stories that you left out you could go back to. And then I'm also know that what are some things and goals that you would like to do as you proceed with, this dream of yours?
My whole thing from day one, Kathy was kind of trying to leave a legacy behind, and it's just kind of a long story, but very simply, being a gay man, I was the last male of my family, and my last name Spinnato goes back to the Roman Empire. We chased it all the way back, so I always had that kind of like thing growing up. Oh, it's going to be the end of an era. You're going to be the last name. Now, luckily, later on in life, my cousin Eric had two boys, so we're actually okay. But at the time, I was doing it because I actually had a lot of guilt from my Italian mother saying that the name was going to die with me, and I never really had any interest in having kids. So I figured I'm going to do it. I'll do it through a skincare company. I mean, we know names, right? Cartier, Louis Vuitton, Chanel. I mean, Lauder. They've been. I mean, these Tiffany. They've been around for 200 years. So you can build a legacy, through a name. That really is my ultimate goal. That's what it's always been from day one. So just to kind of leave something behind that'll still be going on after I'm long gone.
Well, we've just got to get this book in the hands of everybody, because I'm telling you, if you haven't read it, for everybody, we're going to be posting this up on our Kathy L. Murphy YouTube channel. You need to read this book. It is so wild that you will think that it's fiction, but it's not. And I always think it's funny, because when people write memoirs, they go, is it true? This is really true. This is fiction, right? Yeah. And then if you write fiction, they go, this was really your life, right? This is really the truth. They always, I don't know why people do that, but your story and about all your travels, and I don't really want to give a whole lot of this book away, because that's the most pleasurable part about it, is that when you pick it up, don't plan on going anywhere, because you're I just read it straight through. I could not put it down. It's a real page turner. And I was laughing and I was crying, and I was also, you have a lot of empathy for, with your stories. The other thing that I found about you is you also have a lot of pay it forwardness, where you talked about how your skincare has this basic, cleanser that you don't need water because of drought and everything. And then you talked to me personally about the water well projects you've been working with. Why don't you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I work at a couple of charities. One is, to your point, Kathy, it's called Wells of Life, which is a organization, nonprofit, that gives water to villages, and specifically in Uganda. So it really actually ends up employed the village too, because they have to walk 2-3 hours a day just to get water. Believe it or not, it's actually remarkable, and they can't really have any kind of economical growth with no water. So we have these wells through Wells of Life all over. I only have one that I contribute, but there's hundreds of them all through Uganda. So I have one that with my name on it, a whole bunch of them. So we just give water to these women. And then what actually happens, it kind of does, to your point, pay forward. Then we have a company up in Sweden that we work with called AAK. They're just one of our distributors, which is a big one of the biggest distributors of shea oil, shea butter, all different kind of shays in the world. And these villages in Uganda now actually will have the job. They actually will pick the shea off the trees, be able to use the water to process it, and then ship it up to this company in Sweden. So now they have an economical, thing going on with the reciprocal, which still tied into the beauty industry. So I work with that, and my beautiful dog Savannah, who's on the floor here somewhere, who's 200 pounds. We work with the Wounded Warrior Project. So we visit Marines once a week down in Camp Pendleton here in Southern California, and we bring her down. She's a pure comfort. She's not like a bump sniffing dog or anything. She's there for pure comfort. So we do that. And I do some work with ALS, which is what killed my mother, Lou Gehrig's disease. So I work with that charity as well. So those are the three I kind of work with religiously.
That's fascinating to me, because I think that, I always look to those companies that are also putting good out into the world. So I think that's important. People know that about you. And then you're also work with this other thing, and I can't pronounce it. It's
trichotillomania. That God bless for you trying to pronounce it. But long story short, that's in a compulsive hair pulling disorder. And that's a really good point to bring that one up, because when the book title is really a double entendre. It's not just my pursuit of beauty for me wanting to be in a beauty industry, which I always wanted to do, but I never liked the way I looked. I had this disorder growing up, and I still have it now, called trichotillomania, which is compulsive hair pulling. You pull out your hair on your head, your eyebrows, your leg hair, et cetera. And it's just, it's a very big genetic dysmorphic disorder. And I been dealing with that since I was 10 years old. I'm 46 now. I still have to deal with it. It doesn't really go away. So there's a lot of people out there that have it. It affects about 99% women. So I'm one of the lucky 1% in the male market. That's why I really like talking about it, because there's not a lot of men that have it and or talk about it. So I have an organization, or a nonprofit we're putting together called Trick Stars, which is to help with that organization as well. And then my pursuit of beauty, once again, is really about me trying to find it within myself. I only think I became comfortable with myself about 3 years ago at like 43 years old. It wasn't like recent. This is like a recent discovery, trying to feel comfortable. So it was a long journey. So that pursuit really was not only for the industry, but also really trying to find it within myself.
I've interviewed so many authors through the, 21 years now of Beauty in the Book and the Pulpwood Queens and the Timber Guys Book Club. And the one thing that I've heard over and over from authors is that when they wrote their story down, all of a sudden they found out who they were. I know for myself that when I wrote my memoir, I felt like a big boulder rolled off my back, and this big weight came off. Right. But I think it tends to creep back on. It's not like it's ever going to stay off. It keeps rolling back on. But I think that when we do read and write, that it's a way of us working through, much the way therapy is,
I think I figured out the big difference was, to your point, Kathy, that I had, again, the 35 years of therapy, and when you're in therapy, you, like you said, you're talking about it and you're unpacking it, you're trying to figure it out, unpacking it. And I'm like, I don't want to unpack it anymore. So then I just want to get it out. So when I actually just got it out and not tried to actually analyze it every single day, twice a week for 33 years, I think I was like, that almost felt like it was better. And unfortunately, Mickey had to become my therapist, so I had to tell her the stories, but
you better keep Mickey. She's awesome. She's just an awesome.
Where's she going to go?
I don't know, but I for those that don't know, when Vince was talking about his skincare, at one of the times we were together on one of these Zooms, he said, "Look at her. She's 107. She uses my skincare." I was like, "Oh my God, poor Mickey," and you just laughed your head off. And I was like,
Mrs. Button. She's Mrs. Button.
Oh my God. It's still,
when you work with Vince, you gotta have a sense of humor, or it doesn't.
Definitely thick skin.
But the wonderful thing about Vince, when you say these things, is that we know, everybody that listens to you know that you don't mean, you're just teasing,
Well, I would hope so. Because she's actually 109. That's why.
Right. Yeah.
I think that's why your skincare sold at Girlfriend Weekend during our silent auction, because I think it was one of the first things to go. So, and I know who got it. I'm going to be watching her. I'm so jealous. But anyway, for those who don't know, Vince donated one of his skincare systems at the silent auction we do every year for our annual Girlfriend Weekend Book Club convention. And all the money, all of it goes to the Pat Conroy Literary Center. And we've had several more donations come in even after the auction. So we have raised over $4,500. And I know there's still some more money coming in. So I'm very thankful for your generosity of donating that system.
They're probably more literate than I am, so they're probably better shape than I am personally.
Well, it was very nice of you and very generous of all of our authors to contribute to such a wonderful not-for-profit. So your generosity in your life and in your business it's appreciated. You know, it's good. It's nice to see in a world where so many people are just so concerned about, you know, greed and power and money. And so I really appreciate your parents raised you right, you know.
That's right. That damn dynasty got in the way.
Yeah. So as we move on, as you're going to be doing all these interviews all over the country. I know we have you set up this Saturday for the Right Review. You're going to be doing that with more of the Lucid House authors. You're going to be doing all these, I saw this Gladys magazine. You're doing all these features. How many of these are you doing a day?
About one or two. Yeah. Today was two. I did a podcast this morning about 7 in the morning, and then your show in there now. So it was 2 today.
Well, it's going to keep you busy. And then once we get through all of this, you know, I definitely will help you as we explore out and we can go, you know, everybody's been asking about book tours. There are no book tours right now, people. The bookstores are barely doing curbside service. So I'm counting on all my blogger friends, and they're really turning out for me and for all of you. So if you had any parting words for everybody on what you would like to see happen from the reading of this book, what would it be?
Well, I think you heard me say it before, and I kind of say it's a joke, but it's really not a joke. I would say people that want to like learn how to be an entrepreneur or put more energy into it and kind of go in that direction is to, you know, get the book, read it, enjoy it, and do absolutely nothing that I did in it. Do the complete opposite. You know, be successful much quicker. And I mean, it's like a joke, but also it's not. Every single thing I did probably was wrong. So just like, I call it a cautionary beauty tale book. Just try and follow it and enjoy it and do fun, but you also like don't do what actually I did.
You know, Vince, I've heard a lot of visionaries and entrepreneurs speak, and most of them say that success doesn't come, you know, overnight. It's usually 100 failures before you hit that one success. I heard Milton Bradley speak on Sunday morning with Charles Kuralt one time about this. And he said, everybody goes, oh, you made all this money on board games. He goes, yeah, 100 of them would fail. And then I get one that win. You cannot have true success if you don't take leaps of faith and try to do failures. Right. Only you don't call them failures. You go, I discovered that didn't work. That's what I say. I have tried so many different things through the years. I discovered lots of things didn't work, but I have discovered that some things work, and that's reading. Right. And so I hope everybody will read this book. I'm going to open this up. If you guys want to jump in, or if there's anything that you want to share more about your book that I may have missed, it's got all kinds of things at the end of the book about the products and the different lines that you work in the beauty industry, from creating products for Disney princesses to, you know, there's different types of levels of products that you put out there. But if you guys want to ask any questions of Vince, I'm going to open it up. I would love to see more of you doing interviews with some of the people of the products that you work with, because
Right.
they are so lucky. Everybody goes, oh, you're lucky to have worked with Michael Jordan and Gwen Stefani. I'm thinking they're very lucky that they got to work with you. So,
Yeah, and the gift keeps on giving.
that's right. That's right. But have you thought about starting another book?
I actually have. I Mickey probably fall out of her chair. I actually have. We did because there was a lot we had to leave out. It was it was a challenge, and I think we already have, like I said, we have a lot of vignettes we actually had to pull out of the book and stories that could be expanded upon. And I think the book's coming out now, but we officially like finished writing it, about 2 years ago. So we just now been like the last 2 years we've been assembling it, trying to get all the chapters where it needed to be, and Mickey going back and doing rewrites and kind of tightening things up and going through edits. So the book really was done 2 years ago. I mean, in between the last 2 years, I mean, my house burned down. I almost died of like staph infection. I had my lungs burned out from my fire. I mean, that's just a matter of like in 3 months. I mean, every time I always say I can go out in the ocean behind me and get hit by a train. So it's not ever going to be a lack of things happening, for sure.
And I think those are the things that people are going to relate to. You know what? Sharing our stories is wonderful. And you're doing our daily blogs on Breathless Bubbles and Books, and they're fabulous. I'm really enjoying them. I love the one today. But you're doing this blog all this week on our daily blogs on this Breathless. It's on Facebook for everybody who's listening. It's where we pair your book with the award-winning Breathless Wine, which I think we've got that all figured out. Mickey, did you get your package ordered? I think we've got you all figured out where you can get your box set.
Yeah.
But they're beautiful packaging.
It's not the easiest website to negotiate.
No, they need to just call them and pester them like crazy, and it looks like we got it done. But it's, they're a young company too. So they're dealing with lots of issues of COVID, and they've had the fire issues. We've all had the fire issues out in California. I know Claire had them all around her house. It's not been an easy beginning of this new century, Yeah. So if we can all just work together, I look forward to everything they put out there. And I really do want to encourage you to keep the stories going. Keep Mickey, upside down. Keep Mickey working on your book, and anything I can do, I'm going to do it because I love this book. Oh, Robert Gwaltney's here. He just got out of his writer's critique group, and he was so afraid he was going to miss it. Robert, yay, you're here. We're just talking to Vince Spinnato in just like question and answer time. Anything about his book, The Pursuit of Beauty. He's been telling us all the backstory about everything that goes into his product line, to the writing of the book with Mickey. And Mickey, if you were going to give any advice to people thinking about ghostwriting for an author, what would you give for your advice?
Don't work with me, that's for sure.
Right. Well, I've done 6 books with authors, and I will tell you unequivocally, Vince's was the most fun, the most amusing, and sometimes the most hair pulling out, which goes with, I almost had trichotillomania myself.
You can pronounce it. Good for you. Okay.
Oh, it's been a word. It's definitely a word in my vocabulary. I guess my advice would be
just me, Mickey's safe word now.
Yeah, just to be a good listener. That's right. I think the key of being a ghostwriter is you have to be quiet, listen, have some key questions, be very interested in what's going on. And if you don't like the subject, give it up. It's a long, at least a year in the process. Like Vince said, maybe more, maybe 2. And
or 3 for us.
Or 3, yeah. Right. It's just not worth the effort and the time and the mental anguish if you're not pretty much in love with whoever you're writing for. And
I've always been fascinated with the people who did the ghostwriting or writing with people in books, because I know how hard it was for me to write my memoir. It took me 6 years. And then when I turned it in to Warner Books, which is now Grand Central, I turned it in June of 2006, and it didn't get published till January of 2008. Can you imagine?
Yeah, it's a real skill set too. I mean, I'm sure you guys all remember like Rosalind Russell and Auntie Mame. That's kind of really
My
how I talk.
favorite.
When she the last half an hour of the movie when she's writing the book, that's how I talk. And Mickey, she you have to like you gotta like follow me around and and pulling information out of me.
I actually
Hey,
went as Auntie Mame one year for Girlfriend Weekend.
Right.
And now I have my little Patrick. I've got my little grandson, Hawthorne. So yeah, that was one of my favorite books of all time. And I love Rosalind Russell. So yeah, I know you had your job cut out for you, Mickey, but what a delight. Does he get mad? Does he get mad ever?
No.
Not at me, fortunately.
You're
So
just
Kathy, I have a
always,
question.
yes, go ahead, Claire.
Okay, I'm so sorry I was a half hour late, but it couldn't be.
You were fishing. It looked like you were in the ocean fishing.
Surfing.
Yeah, that was me. I was windsurfing.
Okay.
So where in California are you?
I'm in Laguna Beach.
Okay, so you're not too far.
Yeah, where are you at?
I'm at the west end of Malibu.
Oh, so you're around the corner from me. I can zip line to you almost, right?
Yeah, right there. And then you have a certified nose? What is it?
Yes.
What's a certified nose?
So that is
I'm looking at your website.
Oh no, sure. That's pretty much a perfumer. It's like one step below a perfumer. So what it is, I was explaining earlier, it's very similar to like a sommelier would be for wine, where you're really kind of trained in the taste, in my case, in the scent of different essential oils. And I'm talking like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. I mean, so you wouldn't believe that many even exist. So it's really about learning how to take all of the essential oils and all these fragrances from nature and make them and actually build them into like I can see in my head how to actually build a fragrance because I know like what notes are going to go with, which I know that like sandalwood is going to be grounding to like lavender, or like eucalyptus is going to be help your sinuses if you're going like in a Vicks vapor rub type of direction. So I mean, there are certain things like that that you really just kind of learn by doing it, and it just takes a lot of. It's really kind of just practice, and being trained by perfumers who are much more educated than even I am in this category, and they help you along. So it's very similar to wine.
So what do you use on your skin?
I use my personal product actually. So but also I develop products for a tremendous amount of other people, for doctors, clients, celebrities, retailers. So I always, I'm my own guinea pig. So before I send it out to the public or to my customers, I use that all on myself. So I really have a mismatch. So that's kind of one thing you mentioned, Kathy, earlier, which is kind of a good point, is that the beauty industry is not like, it's not elegant at all. Behind the scenes, I mean, I leave my lab every day. I'm filthy, I'm dirty, I'm covered like in fragrance. I smell like a whorehouse in here sometimes. I mean, it's horrible. So you don't even know where you're coming from, and I'm covered like in in powders, and like looks like I'm that Studio 54 during the 70s. You don't know what the hell is what I'm doing during the day. So it's a messy little little experience. But it's not as glamorous as you think behind the scenes, but once it gets out to the market, that's where all the glamour happens.
Okay, so what do you think of grapeseed oil?
Yeah.
Grapeseed we use a lot of that in hair care and also in skincare. It has a great antioxidant value to it. So we've used that I used that for at least 10 years in products, and we still use it even now. It's a great.
I think it's magic.
Yeah.
I mean, I was using the Moroccan oil I have hair that's practically down to my waist.
The silk, I love the silk.
And but I was using the Moroccan oil forever. And I tried grapeseed oil like for one billionth of the price of Moroccan oil.
Right.
It's better. It doesn't weigh it down as much. And I'm like, so I'm putting it on my face. I'm putting it on my hands. I'm like, I think I'm in love with grapeseed oil. But I think it's got to be the right, quality of it, doesn't it?
Yeah. There's different kind of fractionations of it. So you can get like there's different kind of chains that you can get. So we have like ones that are more viscous, ones that are a little bit thinner. So it depends out. We actually they're actually folded. So you'll have like a grapeseed oil. It can be a 1-fold or a 5-fold. And what that actually means that it's either processed 1 time or 5 times. So in between the processing, we call it folding. The more you fold it, the more impurities you get out of it. So 5-fold. Okay. Is much more expensive than 1-fold, because 1-fold is still more of a distillate, where 5-fold has been pressed. And normally it'll be a lot darker in color, it'll be a lot heavier in scent, because you're getting all the impurities out of it.
So can you buy, I'd say Whole Foods or some of these places, the 5-fold grapeseed oil? Is that available to the public?
In grapeseed oil, it's actually not. It's really a raw material. We have it in like grapefruit oil, grapeseed, citrus. We could work with them in the lab because when as a raw material, it's actually too strong to put directly onto your skin or hair. You have to solubilize it in something to get it into the product. So you won't normally see that actually on the market itself. It's kind of like an essential oil squared. That's how strong it is. So you have to really. So when I say something is five-fold, we're just taking a very small part of that out and actually solubilizing it in glycerin or
Yeah.
propiondiol or something like that. Then you have to take the potency down a little bit.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Am I taking over your interview, Kathy?
No, I
Yeah, I
find
have
it
another
fascinating.
question.
I thought about something I want, right
What?
now there's a trend in women's fragrances where it's just too cotton candy for me. And I found that I like men's fragrances better because I like the woods, the sandalwood, the patchoulis, the citrus. And people go, "What do you wear?" And I go, "I have on men's happy."
Yeah.
And is there really a difference between men and women's fragrances, or is it just what you like?
No, it is different, but it's all what you like too. I mean, but the thing that's kind of interesting with fragrances, a lot of time that what people don't realize that they're doing, and as a woman, you may be equating what you want to smell on a guy on yourself, and you don't even know psychologically you're even doing that. So you don't
I
necessarily
probably do because they always smell so much better than
Yeah.
women's fragrances are cloyingly sweet.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't like it.
Yeah, but it's all very, very subjective. Like we said earlier, we all six of us could put on the same fragrance and smell completely different. Our body chemistry. That's why I never really believed in the fragrance wenches that were walking around the store spraying everybody because you can't make a decision that quickly. You have to let it dry down. And if you tell them, oh, I want to walk around the mall for half an hour, like you're never gonna come back. I'm like, no, I'm not. You just sprayed me in the eye socket, lady. So it's a really let's wear it down, get how it feels, a little bit.
Absolutely. I always wear it out of the store and then walk around in it for a while, and so many of them just disappear. You get home, you can't smell it anymore, and I think
Right.
it's too much alcohol in it.
Yeah.
So how fascinating. That's really cool. So, and does orchid really have a scent? That's my favorite flower, and you said that's your favorite scent. How do they?
Exactly what I was explaining to Claire. It had to be pressed, so it had to be folded. So really, if you smell orchids, they don't. Or another confusing one is actually poinsettia. So everyone equates like you have like poinsettia candles at Christmas time, poinsettia, body wash, whatever it's going to be. Poinsettia doesn't smell like anything. There is no scent. So it's completely a psychological scent that's made up to have that illusion of Christmas time. So even if you press the shit out of poinsettia, you can't get a smell out of it. So it has no sense. So that's a perfect example where it's more of a psychological, thing for the holidays that you're getting than actually the way it actually smells. It doesn't smell like anything. And orchids are very similar to that. Orchids do have a smell, and you can fold it out, but they're still. If you smell an orchid plant, it's very, very subtle. It's not even detectable. So it's not like lilac or jasmine or geranium where you smell that when you're walking by.
Calla lilies or something.
Yeah, calla lilies, right.
Yeah, that's interesting. Anybody else? Robert, you have any questions about anything that want to jump out about the book? If you haven't gotten it yet, you can get it it's online booksellers everywhere. And of course, if you order from Main Street Reads, we'll ship it out to you. I did an order with them today. So she's going to be selling it for us all year and giving us a discount and shipping them out. So you can get your books, but it's the perfect book to give to anybody for Valentine's Day or for yourself. And may I suggest get the Breathless Wines with the book and just have a night, just have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's night for yourself and give yourself a good pampering treatment.
Right.
Great read.
If you don't have a date, just sit in the corner with the wine and a book with flipping a light switch on and off. That's the way to let's get through your Valentine's.
What are you doing for Valentine's Day?
My boyfriend went back to Canada yesterday, so I'm by myself. So we're gonna be, we'll be away, but we'll just do like Skype or call or something. So I just might be touching myself inappropriately or something. Who knows?
Well, you can join us on. We got two things going on the day before Valentine's.
Kathy completely missed that one. That'll be for the playback for her later.
I got it. We're going to be doing two things that weekend. We're going to have our writers new writers club starting that morning at 10 o'clock. And Robert and his writing group in Atlanta, Georgia, are going to help us kick off our new writers club. And then that afternoon, Mandy and I are going to be having our pet parade. So you can join us with your dog. We're going to actually interview everybody, have everybody come on board, and we're going to have you showcase your little animals. And Stephanie, you can have your poodles, and everybody can bring your German shepherds and your little, I don't know what kind of dog you have, Robert.
3, a Yorkshire Terrier, a long-haired Chihuahua, and a Pomeranian.
Oh my
You got-
gosh.
You got the whole cats in the Wild Kingdom there. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting for me because I have 3 cats and they're hiding. So we'll see what happens.
I
So,
just got
Kathy, are the animals on live or are we posting photographs?
well, you can post photographs, but mine won't be live because, I mean, unless that little one's jumping all over me, the other 2 are hiding. It's past their bed. Once it gets dark, my cats are in my bed.
Yeah,
And I go in and I just have to say, scoot over,
yeah.
because they think it's dark, it's bedtime. They also
Yeah.
want to get up at 4. So, you know, it's what it is. But
Yeah, I'm like I'm like it's like even with a live human. When my dog, if I were to stretch her out, she's almost 7 feet long. It's completely ridiculous, and she just takes up the whole entire bed, as most of our animals do.
well, they do. But, you know, during this time of COVID, I don't know what I would have done without them. And I mean, right after Girlfriend Weekend, my friend Barbara brought me a rescue kitten. And I'm going, I don't need a cat. I'm tired. And she said, she is. She's all fixed, ready to go. And she said, she will tear you apart. And she hasn't really, other than trying to climb up my leg. But I named her Figment of My Imagination because the first day I had her, she hid under a table in my office that had a leopard tablecloth. She just hid under there, and now I call her Fig. So we'll get to hear all the stories Valentine's weekend. And, you know, I love Valentine's Day because I was really big on doing those glitter and doily and, you know, decorated Valentines. I didn't just buy those ones at the dime store. I made my Valentines. So yeah, that was a big, and you did the box. Remember the boxes?
Sure.
And you wanted to get the boy to put the Valentine in your box. And
Yeah.
so anyway, I still have Valentines that my grandmother used to send to me from California that were kind of vintage. I just love them. But I hope we all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. I hope you'll come back and join us. Vince, I'm going to see you this Saturday on the Right Review. Now, what time is that going to be?
I will tell you.
I'll have to email Annie McDonald.
It's 12 noon Pacific, so that's 3 for Mickey and 2
10
p.m.
o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, and then I guess that would be 9 o'clock.
No, you're going the wrong direction. It's 12 noon for me, so it'd be 2 in the afternoon for you, and 3 for Mickey.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll see you at 2 in the afternoon.
You were heading to Hawaii. You were going the wrong direction.
I did that. I just Zoomed with Janet, Skesley, and Charles in Paris, and both her and I had going the 8 hours, the 7 hours the wrong way. So we had to reschedule. She's lovely. But I'm going to have to learn my time zones because we're now around the world. But anyway, thank you. Mickey.
Thanks for
I love
having
you
me.
guys. You're just the cutest couple ever. And you've got a wonderful
The odd
book,
couple.
Yeah.
cutest couple ever.
Correct.
And a wonderful book. I hope that this will go out into the world and take you into your next trajectory, into your next realm of being the king, queen.
Fame and fortune. Huh?
Right.
So thank you all for joining me.
Thank you, guys.
I guess we'll see you. The next thing I've got is all these events, your event, and then my film club will be meeting Saturday night at 6:30 for my pre-show of a surprise film I'm going to be telling you about. So we'll see you Saturday night. In the meantime, all the videos that I receive from Echo are up. Every single one of them are up. there's some missing ones. So we're trying to figure out what happened to them, but most of them are up. So please go to the Kathy L. Murphy channel and watch those. And thank Mandy for helping me with a wild week of trying to get these things all downloaded. It was quite the process, but you guys are amazing. I'm so excited about this year and our wonderful books, and just, you know, big book love. There we go, everybody.
Thank
We'll
you.
see you down the road. I need to talk to you, Claire, sometime soon. We'll talk about what we were talking about earlier. So everybody, Stephanie, I'm going to be coming over because Robert bought a painting. Robert bought a painting. So
Which one?
I'm
Which
so,
one?
yeah, he bought, it's called at Caddo Lake, and you'll be seeing it shortly.
It's
but
really
I'll be
pretty.
coming over to get it to
Oh,
mail
oh
it.
my God, that's so great. And you know what? You have just good vibed your entire house. I mean, I'm telling you, her paintings have energy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Claire's got 2 of mine in.
I have 2. I have 2, and I love them and I appreciate them every day. And it's just, it's the whole vibe.
She's so sweet. Well,
I'm
you
sorry.
guys, I love you all. This was the best. Happy Valentine.
I'll email
Thank
you,
you.
Kathy.
We'll
Bye,
see you
y'all.
next time. Bye, Vince. Bye, Mickey.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.